Hey guys, welcome back and thank you for participating in Avishkaar Game League and creating such wonderful games. In this video, we are going to specifically talk about the junior level problem statement of the Game League and we are trying to create a solution of it. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. First of all, let's check the problem statement. It says, develop a game where players use hand gestures to control a barrier sprite that stops or allows item to pass on the screen. Objects are categorized as good or bad, impacting the player scores and lives based on their actions. This object sprite is known as the main sprite. So basically, the judges wants us to create a game where we need to create a barrier sprite and some good or bad sprite. We need to actually catch the bad sprite and let go of the good sprite. I am choosing a theme of police and thief in this game. We need to catch the thief running from the jail or the prison and we need to allow the police to let go of it. We will use a barrier sprite, maybe a fire or a laser, something like that to catch the bad sprite. Okay, so without wasting any more time, let's get started with the code and the assets first. Let's start with our game assets first. We need one background for our game, and since we have chosen a theme of police and criminal, I am using a prison background. Next, we need the character sprite. So one for the police and one for the thief. One interesting thing in AMS is that we can use GIF with transparent background as the sprite. This gives the sprite an animation effect. We also need one more sprite for the catcher. I am using the fire sprite or the fire image for the catcher sprite. Now let's upload these sprites into AMS and set their positions. We also need some background music and some tones. So I'm going to add them into our game now. Now let's work on the code. First, we will select the game setup and game loop blocks. Then we will set up our background. For that, I will select this block and increase the opacity to 100% and save the game. Let's play it. And you can see the background is actually set. Next thing we want to do is to set up or create our character sprite. So I'll create a sprite and give it a name character. And I'll set it and play the game. And you can see the character sprite is actually having an animation and is present on the left or on the center of the screen. Next, we want to create a logic with which we can actually randomly select between the police image and thief image. So for that, we will create a function and give it a name select character. Now we will use a very simple logic with which we can actually select a random image between the two. For that, we will use a simple logic of detecting even and odd numbers. We will first create a random number between 1 and 100, and if the number is even, we will select the police image, and if the number is odd, we will select the thief image. So for that, we will first go to control, pick up an if block and add an if else. Now this is an if else block. Next thing we want to do is to compare the value of the remainder, and the remainder will be from this. So first we will generate a random number between 1 to 100, divide it by 2, and if the remainder is equal to 0, that means that number is even. And if the number is even, we will select the police image. So we'll go to sprite, select set sprite character image to police. Else we will set the image to thief. This way, a random image between the police and the thief will appear on the screen whenever we play the game or whenever we want it to generate. Next thing is to add a property to each of it. Currently, we are just selecting different images. We don't know which one is good or which one is bad. And we want to use that property in our game in order to give us score or lose life. So for that, we'll go to sprite and click on create sprite. And I'll give it a name is good. And you can see I have this block. Set character property is good to 1 and duplicate to 0. So basically, if the character sprite is police, I'm setting the property to 1. Otherwise, I'm setting the property to 0. Similarly, I will also create another property which will tell us if the catching is done or not. Okay, so I'll go to sprite again. I'll click on create sprite property and I'll create a property is catched. And then I'll duplicate it. I'll set is catched to 0. Initially, we will set it to 0. That means this sprite is currently not catched. Okay. Now let's do this thing. We'll keep this function over here. We will call this function in order to select an image. So we'll go to functions, select character, and then we will set its position. So the position will be somewhere around here, and this is like 100 and around 325. So I'll go to world, I'll pick up a create position block, I'll go to sprite and set sprite character position to 100 and 325 and then save the game. And let's test. So play. And you can see the police is actually there. Okay. One thing is, I'll just try to reload first to show you. Again, reload. Let's hope the thief comes this time. Yeah, you can see the thieves comes this time. Okay. So basically it is randomly selecting image between thief and police, but currently our police is smaller in size, slightly smaller in size. So what I'll do is, whenever the police sprite is selected, I can actually increase the size. So how to increase the size? I'll go to sprite. I'll pick up this set sprite scale to 120% and save. And let's test. And you can see we have the police sprite bigger in size now. Okay. Now the next thing is to move them from the left side to the right side. I'm making this small change in our game because both of our sprites are facing towards right. Okay, so instead of moving them from right side to left side, I'm moving them from left side to right side. And we will also place our catcher image on the right side of the screen. Okay, so first we'll create another sprite for our catcher and place it on the right side. So I'll go to sprite, create sprite and give it a name catcher. Or I can change this name later with barrier. So I'll go to create sprite. I can rename it actually. Instead of catcher, I'll give it a name barrier. Okay, and I'll select this fire image. I'll save it and let's see how this is looking. So I'll actually crop the sprite and yes, so save, cut, and first set its position, so barrier, and now instead of 100 I'm selecting 700 and save, and let's see how this is looking. and actually I need to select this, save. So currently the size of this fire is too big. I can actually reduce it down. So again, I will copy this, and instead of character, I will select barrier, and over here I will write down 50. And I guess this is good. Yeah, this is good. Okay. And initially I want to set the barrier visibility. So barrier visibility as hidden. Initially, I don't want to make it visible. I only want to make the barrier visible whenever I'm making the hand gesture. Okay. So most of our work is done with the sprite setup and the background setup. One thing I want to add is a sound. So I can add a background music, which is game music 2, and save it. And let's see if this is working or not. So now you can see that music is also working. Next thing we want to do is to move our sprites, the character sprite, from the left side to the right side. Okay, so we want to make them move in this direction towards the right direction. Okay, for that I can actually use a very simple logic. I can just increase the X by a certain amount, and whenever it reaches the right side of the screen, the right edge of the screen, I can reset their position. Okay, now all of that will be done inside the game loop. So first of all, I'll create change sprite character X by 0.1. So if this is 0 and this is 800, I am increasing this value by 0.1. Okay. So 0.1 is fast. You can actually see it. And yes, first, when this is done, I'll add a block of if which checks if, or I will not use this. Actually, I will use a block which says is sprite character touching the right edge. If this is happening, the position of the character will reset to this. Okay, I can also make it, instead of 100, I can initially make it 50 or maybe 20. So initially it seems that after going it to the right side, it is coming back from the left side. Okay, so same with this, save. Okay, so 0.1 is slower. If you feel it is slower, you can actually increase it. I am increasing it to 0.3 and save. And I need to make one more change. So after reaching at the left hand, after reaching the right hand side or the right edge of the screen, when it resets its position, it will also reset the character. So it will select a random character. Okay, so like this, save. Now it is faster. Now the police comes. So you can see thief. So again, random, it is a random selection, and now the police comes. But you have seen that whenever I have increased the size for this character, I have the size of my thief is also changed. So if the character is this, the size will be this, otherwise the size will be this. Okay, so I'm keeping the 100% size on the thief. Let's check. So bigger, 160%. Again, see, it's a random thing. Yeah, 100%. Now the police is actually bigger. Okay, so yeah, this is how we'll set it. Now stop. Now the next thing is we actually want to showcase make the fire visible whenever I make the hand gesture. Okay, so first of all, I'll go to hand pose. I'll pick up this block, control. If hand is detected, then I will check if the distance between this point and this point is less than, is actually less than or equal to, and I'll keep it 40. You can set this according to your camera settings. Okay, I know that on my camera it is number below 40 every time I make this gesture. That's why I know this. Okay, so you can change this number in your camera. Maybe it could be 100, it could be 10, it could be 50. You need to check it. Okay, so if this is happening, then what we need to do is we need to actually make the barrier sprite as visible. Okay, else the barrier sprite will be hidden. So save, and now let's play. I'll turn on the key point so you can see my hand. So yeah, see, currently the number must be greater than 40. That's why it is actually not coming. But yeah, as soon as I take my hand back, you can see the fire is visible. Okay, so one thing I want to do is first of all reduce, or not reduce actually, I want to increase this number. This could be like 70. Save it. And I also want to reduce the size of my fire sprite because my fire sprite is actually too big. So I'll make it go 10% only. Yeah, so you can see when I'm making the fist gesture, the fire is there. So again, most of our work is done. I can increase the size of the fire to again 30% and save. And now I need to check if the fire is touching with my character sprite. Okay, so for that I will use another if the sprite is touching. So is sprite touching, barrier sprite is touching any character sprite, and then an if else. So if like we need to do one more thing. Basically, first of all, if this is happening, change the sprite to the blood sprite. Let's see if we have the blood sprite. No, we don't have, so we'll add it into our game. So blood, add to game. Okay, and yeah, so first of all I'll pick up this block, set sprite character to this. Okay, once this is done, I will check whether or not it is a good sprite or bad sprite. Okay, so if it is a good sprite, the score will increase. If it was a good sprite, the life will decrease. Otherwise, the score will increase. Okay, so this, but now we can make the logic, but we don't have the score and the life variables created yet. So I'll go to save and I'll create few variables first. So variable, create variable, I'll give it a name score, and another I will give it a name lives. So I will set it up, duplicate, So initially the score should be 0 and the lives should be 5. Okay, and then I will actually go to game and set game score and game lives to these variables. So game score to game score and game lives to game lives. Now I can use these variables. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll check the property now. If the property is good, it will automatically check for 1 or 0. If this is happening, if the character sprite property is good, make sure this is characters is selected. If the character sprite property is good, then we need to lose our life. Okay, to lose the life, we actually go to variables, set life, and go to like mathematics, over here minus variable lives minus 1. Otherwise we will increase the score. Okay, and also we need to use those blocks, otherwise the score and lives will be changed but they will not be reflected to us. So this and this. Okay, so instantly the lives will be updated and the score will be updated. So you can see whenever these sprites are touching to the fire, they are actually changing into blood. Okay, and you can see, now you can see whenever this is happening, the lives, just look at the numbers of likes and score. So the score is not increasing by 1 actually. It is increasing till the time it is basically touching the fire sprite. Okay, we don't want that. So one thing what we can do is either we can actually instantly set the position back to this. Okay, or we can use this property if the character is cached or not. If the character is cached, then we will not increase the score. Okay, we will increase it once or we will decrease the lives once, otherwise we will not do it. Okay, so we will check if the sprite after turning into blood, the character sprite after turning into blood is connecting or is touching with the barrier sprite. If that is happening, we will not count it. Okay, so over here, if the sprite barrier is touching another sprite or marker character, we will add one if condition, and we can do that by using an and I'll use this not, and then I'll use the property. So yeah, this, if the sprite character property is catch is 0. Okay, so not will actually check for 0 and this will check for 1. So if this is happening, first of all what we'll do is we will set the property to 1 so that we don't count it as touched again and again. Okay, so once this is done, now the score or the life will be updated only once. Okay, let's test. So yeah, see, score is only increasing by 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5, and similarly the life will only decrease by 1 every time. Okay, so this logic was very simple. We just added one more condition to check if the sprite is touching another sprite, if both of the sprites are touching each other. If they are doing so, we have added a property to check if it is already catched or not, if it is already turned into blood or not. Okay, so if the sprite barrier touching another sprite, yes, we are checking that, and the properties property should be 0. Okay, if you are not understanding this, if you're this is not like easy to understand for you, you can also do this. So if the get sprite property, the get sprite if the is cache property is set to 0, okay, this and the not both are the same thing. Okay, this will actually also work same. Now we just need to do one more thing, which is we can add a tone, and that tone is, so go to sound, play splat, and whenever it is turning into blood, this sound should come. Okay, so I can actually make it go 80%. Then I can actually decrease this sound to little bit 30 or 29%. And next thing we want to do is I want to add another logic, which is if I can keep it outside the hand detection block. So if so I want to check if the lives is equal to 0, then I'll do, first of all I'll do a stop game, and then I'll show a text which says you lost in red color, and the size will be like 40. The position will be around center of the screen, and to find the center you already know that it should be half width and half height. And same, I can actually use else if score is equal to 10. I will again stop the game loop and increase the size, or actually like show another text which says you won in green color. And with this our game is complete. Okay, so very simple logics we have used. Let's first play this game and try to understand everything again. Okay, you can see I've already won the game. Okay, so I hope this was easy to understand for you. I will again repeat everything. First, we added some assets into our game. You can check them from the library, and here are the sprites that we have used. We have used the GIF, so the character is actually moving or moving their legs. Okay, you can also use that similar GIF images for your sprites. Then first of all, in setup, what we did was we set up the background image. Then we created some barrier and character sprites, set their size and position, and to select a random image between prisoner and police, between thief and police, we created this logic. So this function is actually first creating a random number and checking if that random number is odd or even. Okay, if it is odd, the sprite of thief will be selected and the property of is good will be 0, and if the number the is even, the property will be good, set to 1, and the sprite image will be police. Okay, and we have also created a new property which is cached, which we are using later on to detect if it is touching the barrier sprite or the fire sprite or not. Okay, all other logics you already know this. To move from left to right side, we have just changed the position of X by this number, and if it is touching the right edge, then actually we are resetting it back. Okay, and it is a very fairly simple code. I will post it up. You can actually check this, make a copy, and try to like use this code, try to make more examples, try to add more variation into it, and we will meet into next class with the next problem statement of middle level, and we will try to solve that next time. Till then, stay safe, stay curious.